Hey y'all, this is Morgan. Welcome to my happy place. So I wanted to do an update about my Christmas cactus. If you saw the other video, I had noticed some accumulation of salts on this glazed clay pot, and when I tested the water that was being flushed through it, I found that the total dissolved solids were incredibly high. And so basically what was happening is it was being burned by the slow release fertilizer that is in there. It is Osmocote, which I have absolutely no problem with Osmocote. I've actually used it in the past on my plants. This just happened to be one that I had purchased, and it had a tremendous amount of Osmocote. And what happens is Osmocote is not released just with waterings. It is released with heat. And as I live in a very warm environment, I think it was having a tremendous amount of fertilizer being released all at one time. So I removed what I could of the Osmocote. I replaced some of the potting material, and flushed it multiple times, but it really is just... it's not doing well. These little leaves are paper thin. I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. So what I've decided to do, I'm going to completely unpot it. I'm going to wash the roots as thoroughly as I can, and I'm going to make my own potting mix. Some of it will be peat moss. There will be some perlite in it, but I'm also going to use compost from my chicken coop. And I use the deep litter method in my chicken coop, so I don't clean it out routinely. I view it as the forest floor, and if you want more information about deep litter method and the benefits and why we use it, I will be glad to do a video on that, but that is some of the material that I will be using today. So this is no hard and fast rule. I don't have specific ratios that I'm going to incorporate. I can't tell you I'm going to use a third of this, a third of that. I don't know. I'm just going to mix it up and see how it looks to me. So let's get started. This is a bit of a rush, as here lately, a lot of busy days, but today will actually start my work week. And at 4:30 my time is no longer mine. So have a lot to get done in that period. So here we go. First, I'm going to show you that I'm still seeing, I don't know if you can see this, some salt accumulation on this pot. So, you know, definitely still a tremendous amount of fertilizer that I suspect is being released. And I hope I can save this poor little plant. So I don't know if I can knock this out. No. Alright. Yeah, a manicure's on my list today too, but I don't know if that'll happen. I usually end up scraping all my polish off before 24 hours is up. Even the gel nails don't last me that long. Okay, so as you can see, there's still a lot of the little fertilizer beads in there, even though I tried to go through and get as much out as I could. And and this just poor little guy. So let me... actually, this doesn't look like there's a lot of fertilizer in that, so I'm not going to wash that all out and traumatize it any further than I already have. Alright, basically this is just being swept down onto the ground as I'm outside. I know, really exacting way of doing that, huh? And my chives are getting over here in the way. Okay, so let me clean this out. We're going to call that a call that a day. I'm going to put a little bit of lava rock in the bottom. So, about like that. I am going to put some of this over here. Trying to find some of the better composted areas. I wasn't terribly selective when I was digging in the chicken coop a while ago. Okay. So I'm actually kind of liking this little handful. There's still some material that's not as composted down as I would like, but I'm not putting a tremendous amount of this. Here I've got some peat moss. Ooh, it actually has a little bit of fertilizer in it. And I thought that was pure peat. Alright, let me get a little perlite. I'm actually going to put a little more perlite just because I know I'm going to put some more compost, which is not terribly compact at all, but I want to keep this pretty light and airy. Something that'll be relatively fast draining, but the peat will hold some moisture in there. Let's see what we can find here. Alright, and I'm going to get some more peat. And that may be too much in the pot, but I still have to wet this. And you know what? I'm just going to do a little bit more perlite. I'm just kind of going by the way it looks and by the way it feels. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm going to go wet this. Okay, I'm back. Kind of mixing this in. I just really want this to be well moistened. Drain some water out of that because it's collecting in the bottom. Okay, now with the little root ball that I have here, that may still be a little much. I'm going to take some out. Little heel to place that on since I kind of hollowed that out. I'm just going to settle that in there good, and I will start to backfill around it. Now with these types of plants, any type of plant that actually requires a potting medium, one mistake that I do see some people making, and I am by no means an expert, but after planting or potting, well, planting too, even out in the ground, anytime you're adding soil or anything around the roots, it's always a good idea to, and I'm just adding some peat and perlite mix just to fill in. It's always a good idea to water it in really, really well. And the reason for that is that it helps to eliminate air pockets around the roots. When, you know, unlike orchids, when you have a lot of air pockets around the roots, then they're not getting the soil, they're not getting the moisture and the nutrients that they need to grow, and it can actually cause dieback. So that is, I think, pretty well done. and I shall be right back and we'll water that in good. Bring can out here. So I'm just using an orchid pot and have that filled with some fresh tap water. And I really want to water that very, very well. I want the water to completely fill up the pot, and that way it will allow any air pockets to fill in and to settle. And I'm just kind of helping that process along. I'm not putting pressure in here, but I'm just kind of tapping, making sure that any air pockets are being kind of worked out. I'm going to empty that so it can drain a little bit more freely. I'm also wetting that peat that I added at the last. It's pretty soggy and boggy right now. I think I'm actually going to put a bit more of the compost on top. And since I'm not really putting anything, any tremendous amounts, no fertilizer or anything, but you know, the compost does have some natural fertilization, of course. But one of the things that I may do once this thing recovers from having been over-fertilized is, yes, I actually vermicompost as well. So I may end up taking some of my worm castings and incorporate with the top layer of soil in here, potting mix, and that way as it's being watered, those nutrients will flow down to the plant. But one day at a time. First we just have to see if this little thing's going to survive. Alright, another little dip.
Thanks for stopping by. Here's a picture of my orchids when I first got them, as well as some of our garden plants. I hope you'll have a lovely day, and I look forward to any comments or questions. Thanks again.